And actually, we're told that those who have families, that they should do, one of their focal points should be Vaishnava Seva, the service of devotees. So the way they can do that is by dedicating their resources, their acquired resources and energy and service. So it means sometimes contributing to mots and making propaganda in favor of Krishna conception, giving their energy, means personally offering themselves in service to a temple or mot. It's mentioned by actually Krishna in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that verse? Etavats janma sapalyam. Saying all the different things you can give. You can contribute something financially, you can give your physical energy, you can give your mental energy, your intellectual ability, your speaking. On some level, there's some contribution that you can make. And we can point out that so many of Mahaprabhu's devotees were in family life, were householders. And I mentioned recently, in terms of the Western origins of the Krishna consciousness movement, when I joined, most of the temples were headed by grihastha couples, a married couple. And there were brahmacharis living in the temple, serving under the guidance of a husband and a wife. The Gurukula originally in India. We know Krishna, when he went to Sandipani Muni and his wife, because when it came time for Guru Dakshina, Sandipani Muni's wife said, I have an idea of what they can do. So there's no barrier for those who are married to serve. Husband can serve, wife can serve, children can serve. But Guru Maharaj did say something interesting in this regard, that if husband and wife, they're serving in the temple, they're not husband and wife then they're co-servitors. That relationship is outside of the sphere of service. So husband, wife, parent and child, when they're in the service jurisdiction, they're co-servitors. So we have, even in the case of Raghunandan Thakur and Mukunda, his father, he was a boy, Raghunandan Thakur, and once Mahaprabhu asked a mysterious question to his father. He said, in your family, who's the father and who's the son? Who's the father in the house? And Mukunda, understanding Mahaprabhu's heart, that what he was alluding to was, who's the most superior devotee in your family? He said, naming his son, who's like a 5-year, 6, 7-year-old boy, he said, Raghunandan's the father in our house. So he meant, out of all of us, my wife, me, him, he's the one who has superior devotion. That's the standard of judgment amongst the devotees. Who has superior devotional tendencies? And whether that is expressed from the heart of a young boy, or from a woman, a married woman, a grihastha man. As Guru Maharaj said once, we're not interested in degree of dress, meaning saffron, white, etc. We're not interested in degree of dress, but degree of devotion, of dedicating tendency. And Gaudiya Mat, Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan, who later became Srila Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj, he was a householder running the mission. And sometimes sannyasis would give Shastanga Dandavats to him, because he was Prabhupada Preshta, most dear to Saraswati Thakur, and running the mat and mission, and so they're showing some respect for that. They mentioned once that, like, we're in a setting like this with Saraswati Thakur, one Grihastha devotee just was sitting on the floor without anything. And someone said, "Oh, Madan Babu, he doesn't even have, a little asan or a mat." And he was someone revered by all the devotees, but like a humble, mild-mannered householder. Saraswati Thakur said, he's a Nirupadika Vaishnav. I mean, he doesn't have any formal designation, but he's Vaishnav. And the Vaishnav aspect of that equation is what is most important. Whom we worship are the Braja Gopis. Right? They're not nuns. Right? The Braja Gopis are not nuns. I mean, I love nuns. I was trained by nuns. I went to school with nuns. If any of them are out there. But the Braja Gopis are not nuns. Ahushchate nalina nava padaravindam yogeshware Riddhi Vijantam Agara Bodhai Sangsara Kupa Patito Taranavalam Gehum Jashamapi Manasi Suryat Sadhana. Sangsara Kupa. They're saying, we're just householders who are, in the well of household life, of samsara. That's how they present themselves. And that's their posing in Vrindavan. Yet, as we told before, Uddhava is saying, I want to take the dust from their lotus feet on my head. Why doesn't he say, I want to take the dust from all the yogis on my head. I want to find some gyanis and take the dust from their feet on my head. No. He's saying, I want to be a creeper or blade of grass in Vrindavan, so the dust from the lotus feet of the Braja Gopis will come on my head. So their posing is that way. And that's why one of the reasons they're so exalted. We're told the most difficult attachments to break is family attachment. But they've done that somehow. In response to the flute call of Krishna, they're running. They're running out of the family situation towards Krishna. And you can still do that. It's still available in the Krishna consciousness movement. And I've seen by practical experiences, I have so many god brothers and god sisters who are married, produce children, and I was always astonished how in the midst of maintaining their families, having a full-blown family life, they would use their time, their spare time in one sense that didn't exist, they created to come to the temple, cook for the deities, join in the kirtan, preach, do so many things. So really, it's, stane stita shruti gatam tanuvan manobir, means whatever your position is, grihe tako bone tako sada hari bole tako, or grihe ba bonete take ha goranga bole take. Bhaktivinoda Narottam saying, that doesn't matter if you have some appreciation for Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Radha Govinda, then I want your association. So, in one sense, we could say, in the midst of family circumstances, those who have an expressed affinity for Vaishnava Seva, an association, they'll draw great remuneration from that. That in the midst of family circumstances, they maintain spiritual association and engage in seva, service. We know in the story of Ramanujacharya that he once, his sannyasis, he's famous for having sannyasis and being such a stalwart acharya. While the sannyasis are bathing, he mixed all their clothes on the banks of the river. So when they came out, they're dressing. So, hey, those are mine. That's right. Oh, you've got mine. They're all, a little disturbed that their clothes were mixed up. So he's showing some, even though they're great, Maharaj, some little attachment was still there, he's showing, for something so trivial and mundane. At the same time, around that time, he had a famous Grihastha disciple, his name Dhanur Das, and his wife. And Ramanuja, in the dead of night, sent one of his followers there to their house, and she's lying, sleeping, and the brahmachari started taking bangles off of her wrist and taking her jewelry off. And then she turned and he fled. So the next day she approached Ramanuja and said, is there some financial difficulty at the mat? I know why. He said, well, one of the brahmacharis came to our house last night and he started taking off my bangles and my jewelry. So I turned over so he could take the other ones, and he ran. So what he was showing us, the sannyasis were fighting over their copines, and this woman, she's turning over so he can take the rest of her jewelry. So she's in a family, married woman in a family situation, and she's giving everything. And they're officially, formally, renunciates in the detached position, and their mind is distracted with trivial attachments.